Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
All right, folks. It's a new week. Time to get back to work, huh? What are you guys doing? Let's go more to the charts. Well, we got something going on here in the treasuries. A little bit of a rise overnight, but then more recently in the past 30 minutes or so, a more extended move in the treasuries coming through. And now that's interesting. There must have been something, because everything that I read in my overnight synopsises were that the S&P 500 was down because of Nvidia getting hit by some sort of antitrust violation in China, which was likely China trying to get more leverage during negotiations. So oil, in the middle of its range. Gold and silver. Well, gold doing okay. Silver looked pretty good on Friday and has maintained its gains so far. Kappa had a little bit of a breakout, and they have come slightly back to the resistance. So, but that's usually a good thing. It's usually a good thing for copper prices. I mean, copper going up isn't necessarily a good thing. Don't get me wrong. 6J showing a little bit of strength this morning, and the dollar drooping back down to, let's see here, 96.8. And Bitcoin, a little bit of movement, but nothing too significant over there in Bitcoin over the weekend. So what's going on here? Yeah, you can see there in the last 30 minutes, S&P 500 recovering significantly. What's going on? U.S. and China principals conclude second day of talks in Madrid. U.S.-China meeting has gone very well. Oh, that's interesting. So are hawkish interest rate bets getting taken off because they think that there actually is a chance of getting a trade deal with China? Well, makes me really uncertain whether that flow will really continue, though. Let me read down here. I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing anything else. The big trade meeting in Europe between the United States of America and China has gone very well. It will be concluding shortly. A deal was also reached on a certain company that young people in our country very much wanted to save. Oh, they will be very happy. I will be speaking to President Xi on Friday. The relationship remains a very strong one. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. Huh. Very interesting. So it sounds like they've come to a deal on TikTok. That was 15 minutes ago. Barclays will redesign trading floors at its New York headquarters to improve operations. Okay. That's a kind of a weird report. Whoa. Subject to SEC approval, companies and corporations should no longer be forced to report on a quarterly basis, but rather report on a 6-month basis. This will save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their companies. Did you ever hear the statement that China has a 50 to 100-year view on management of a company, whereas we run our companies on a quarterly basis? Not good. That was Donald Trump 30 minutes ago. That's really, really interesting. Trending YouTube shorts. Welcome back. Hey, Paul, Octavius, Susie. UCB's Schnabel says tariffs are net inflationary on supply chain effects. I can see that the people that I follow on Twitter are definitely still most interested in talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I can't even remember who this other guy, I'm not going to show you a picture. They were just pointing out, we know more about this shooter than we know about this shooter. And I'm like, who was this shooter? I don't remember. Was somebody when Democrats were in charge? I'll just show you. Is the guy on the right? I don't remember. I definitely remember the face. Was that the one that oh, he's the one that shot Trump. Oh, okay. The picture makes more sense now. So why they would be pointing that out. That is interesting, actually. I tell you what, I am very deeply troubled. I mean, I'm deeply troubled by the whole situation. But the current thing that's going on is Democrats, liberals online, let's not say Democrats, but just the left overall online, absolutely obsessed with this theory that Charlie Kirk's assassin was a right-winger. It is a theory that makes zero sense and basically contradicts every piece of official information that we've gotten. And I'm concerned that, one, it allows the delusion to continue. There is a real problem here, and some people don't see it, and this just kind of allows it to keep going. And I'm concerned because such delusion precedes failure. The reason that markets work is because it forces the truth to be confronted. That's why the United States succeeded where the Soviet Union failed. Because in the Soviet Union, when there was failure, they just did everything they could to hide it. And sometimes it was just hidden and they never had to face it. And they just continued to go on doing the thing that wasn't working. Markets provide an incentive for that information to get out. Unfortunately, social media does not run on a market. Not the traditional market, at least, right? Where you are heavily incentivized for getting the truth out. The internet very often rewards misinformation and nonsense. And I feel that we need to have a better mechanism to hold online actors accountable for the things that they do. Which I would really dislike some sort of authoritarian, like, oh, okay, this community is no good, we're just going to shut them down. That's not going to work. But a way of going, hey, all you guys, you were speculating on whether the shooter was left-wing or right-wing. All of you people that claimed that he was right-wing, when we've pretty conclusively proven that he was left-wing now, you all get a negative score, you know? It should be like they're on their permanent record, right? Was wrong about Charlie Couchard. There you go. You said it yourself. The internet rewards lies, not the truth. Let's gamble some on NQ and make click. I know, right? I mean, ultimately, it kind of comes back to the larger thing that has perpetually irritated me this whole time that we've been doing this stream, right? Is that you can come on here, gamble on equity indexes, pretend like you're making tons of money, and masses of people will fall for it and try and follow you. And then when you go and you tell people like the deeper workings of the market and the information that can actually help you, even though the chances of you being successful in trading are very, very low, but it's the best information that we have and nobody cares. Donald Trump says the NFL has got to get rid of that ridiculous looking new kickoff rule. How can they make such big and sweeping change so easily and quickly? It's at least as dangerous as the normal kickoff and looks like hell. The ball is moving and the players are not. The exact opposite of what football is about. Sissy football is bad for America and bad. Gosh. This guy. Sissy football is bad for America and bad for the NFL. Who comes up with these ridiculous ideas? It's wanting to roll back the golf ball so it doesn't go nearly as far. Fortunately, college football will remain the same, hopefully forever, my goodness. Well, our president is very passionate about his football. You know, I need to remember to keep track of the spreads here on all this because they've been moving recently, especially the knob spread. Okay, well, no movement this morning. Yeah, and there was a big iceberg at 13.5 that looks like it was cleared. I don't want to make the whole stream about Charlie Kirk, but I'll admit I feel like I'm hyper focused on it right now. Generally speaking, we would expect to see major media stories come out on Monday. Just because that's like you put the piece of information out and then that can dominate the news cycle for the whole week. And then people have the weekend to reset. They're not as tuned into the news. And so that's why you want to get them started on Monday. But we might not get that until after the stream. Well, let's see here. What's the latest? Fox and Friends. FBI Director Cash reveals details about a note found in the home of Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. Uh-oh. There's a note or a manifesto. Man. Yeah, so something I think interesting. It seems to me that the first practical consequence of all of this, like policy-wise, is that people are, or on the right at the very least, are very, very heavily questioning FBI Director Kash Patel. They have been much more forward about information. Like they were saying with the Trump shooter. And know nothing. Still don't know nothing about him. I think on that one, it's kind of more that guy was just crazy. My recollection was that guy was mostly just crazy. They tick back up at 13. Wow. Tesla soars after Elon Musk buys $1 billion worth of stock? Let's read this. Tesla shares are on the verge of a technical breakout, something that unhinged Democrats, CC Tim Walz, must be absolutely furious about, after a new SEC filing revealed that Elon Musk went on a Friday shopping spree, snapping up roughly $1 billion worth of stock. The move has bolstered Tesla's market cap by $100 billion, a savvy squeeze on the shorts. According to a newly filed SEC document, Musk purchased 2.5 million shares through a series of trades valued at about $1 billion. The $1 billion purchase comes as shares broke out of an ascending triangle on Friday and are now trading near record highs. As of Monday morning's pre-market trading, the stock was up 8.3% around the 428 level. While Elon's purchases could be tied to creating momentum to break shares to the upside, we must remind readers that the purchase comes days after Larry Ellison briefly surpassed Musk to become the world's richest person, following a massive jump in Oracle's stock. We dare Musk to come up with something even more outrageous than Ellison. And boy, did he. His purchase of TSLA's stock pushed his net worth higher by $15 billion. Musk clearly enjoys the title of being the world's richest, and what better way to mint $100 billion in market cap than with $1 billion in stock purchases? Now, does Ellison have a trick or two of his own? Dude, what's going on with Oracle is crazy, crazy, crazy. Have you guys been looking at that? Have you been monitoring that stock? It really is crazy. Super charts. They're not just charts, they're super charts. Wait, am I logged in? Why is it white? I'm not logged in. Jeez. Now we need to look at Oracle on like a daily chart. So basically, Oracle came out and said, "Oh, we got a lot more cloud spend this quarter or whatever." And then they put out these crazy estimates that were basically like that growth rate will continue for the next 10 years. And to justify this basically $100 jump in the stock. Can you believe that? That's insane. And the spike in volume in that is so crazy. So crazy. But it's nonsense. I think selling up there makes a lot of sense. Not that I would want to be short it long term, but for it to come back to here, sure. And that meant that he, for a brief period, became the richest man in the world. And apparently Elon Musk cares. Doesn't think that would be something he would care about, but apparently it is. Let's see here. Oh, we need to look at what we got going on this week. It is a Federal Reserve meeting this week, isn't it? Is there any other data, though? Retail sales tomorrow. No news Friday, huh? You know, for as much trend as we have had this morning in the Treasuries, feels awfully quiet at the moment. This doesn't seem right to me. I must be not seeing this correctly. There's a decent amount of changes here in the offers. UBS says there's a 93% chance of a recession. What? That's crazy. More credible tinfoil hat conspiracies with valid connections is the FLDS, Mormon Mafia, or Israel. Now, dude, so some of the conspiracy theories that I see out there about Mormons after the Charlie Kirk thing, I just like so badly misunderstand Utah culture, man. They're like, well, shooters are one of their own. They're always going to defend their own, yada yada. No. Yeah, y'all don't understand Mormons. There's nothing a Mormon wants more than to see Laman and Lemuel get their comeuppance. Ah, yes, I did. They arrested 2 people who tried to bomb a Fox News truck at a Kirk vigil. Yeah. You know what this all reminds me of? This is going to seem like a weird leap, but hear me out for a second. You ever heard this story that there was like an elephant reserve, and they had a bunch of they only had female elephants, and the female elephants had babies, and when the male babies grew up, they were extremely violent and just went around destroying everything. And so they said, oh, well, maybe we need the male elephants. So they brought in male elephants from outside, and the male elephants somehow quelled the younger, vicious male elephants. That's one of the most interesting stories to me. Because I really try and look at the world as, you know, a bunch of different systems, except for that because these are complex systems, self-organized systems, like your body or a society, your church group, your online community. These are all complicated systems. And from what we know about complexity, right, there's all of these little interactions that go on can result in higher level behavior that's difficult to predict. And so you have to look at your organization or whatever as like this living, breathing, developing thing. And there's so many tiny little things that go on, but there are sometimes those higher level behaviors that come out that we can kind of see and then work backwards and try and understand how those are created. So it's really, really interesting that having older men around makes a huge difference in how the younger men behave in an elephant society. And I would think that there is likely to be other key behavior like that in humans. Like a kid has a father in the home, behaves differently from a kid that doesn't. It's just the empirical data. Who knows why? But that's the data that we have, right? You know? And what I think I'm seeing here is that because of the introduction of the internet is having negative impacts on some of our systems that we don't really understand. Now personally, what bothers me as a parent, because I've been the most perpetually online person you probably know. Few people have spent more time on the internet than myself. You're talking about somebody that basically sits here like 8 hours a day and reads social media. Well, I mean, I do my job. I don't read social media for 8 hours a day, but I'm paying attention a lot, right? Every time that something's compiling or whatever, I might come over here and browse Reddit real quick or something like that, right? And so I know that there are crazy people online. Not just that there are crazy people online, but that you will see them everywhere, right? Like, it's a whole groyper thing. That's the first time. I had never heard that term before people started bringing it up as a theory for the Charlie Kirk's, let's call him the suspect, as an explanation for the suspect's motivation. Okay. But I've definitely seen these people around because they're constantly infiltrating and undermining conservative forums. The way that you know, I mean the most like characteristic behavior of them is they won't shut up about the Jews, man. That's why that's the first thing that lets you know that he probably wasn't a groiper. Because if he was a groiper, he wouldn't be able to help himself. There'd be something on one of those bullets about Israel, I guarantee you. They can't help it, right? They're there. They want to grow, so they're going to go into more general. They're going to go to the normie forums and try and corrupt people. And you as a parent, there's practically nothing you can do. People will say, oh, well, you know, you should be watching your children, yada, yada. You must not be a parent. Because the way that the technology works, you really don't have any control. It's a phone. You can't, unless you're going to sit there like next to them like this all day, watching what they're browsing on the phone. You install software on their phone, they just can take it off, or they can get around it in different ways. With the way that the phones are set up, the only way to really effectively do something like that is install a proxy. Like have a proxy on their phone. So all they have to do is disable the proxy and get around it. The Apple and Google have not given parents effective tools to help control and monitor what their children do online. Period. How about not giving them a phone? I think parents who give their kids a smartphone are a bit retarded. Well, I tell you what, Uzi, I fought against the kids having a phone as long as I could. But you're fighting the whole world if that's what you're gonna do. You know? Like if you say kids shouldn't have a phone until they're 21, that's just not gonna happen. There's too much of an advantage having a phone. There's too much societal pressure to have a phone. You're basically all of the social activity amongst the kids happens on phones. If parents controlled and monitored what their children were doing, wouldn't that be considered evil, controlling, censorship? How would they get on Reddit? Yes. Like, the thing is, I thoroughly expect at this point the administration to start trying to do something about online extremism. Is that going to be coming in and getting some extremist forums taken down? Probably. But it's like whack-a-mole, you know? Like if they're not on Reddit anymore, granted, I tell you what, if Reddit was really policed their website the way that they should, okay? If they policed the left-wing forums as hard as they did the right-wing forums, and same with Apple and Google on their app stores and everything else, because let me tell you what, man, there is 20 times the amount of extremism on Blue Sky as there ever was on Gab or any of those other right-wing Twitter clones that got taken out of the App Store. Okay. And you can only make so many forums on Reddit. You're paying for people. You're a corporation. This is your livelihood. They should be going through and saying, hey, wait a second. The mods of this particular popular subreddit are straight up promoting violence. We're going to get rid of them. Because that happens. It's happening all the time. That would make a big difference. That would make a big difference. But it's not going to get rid of it. And I don't know if it's going to get rid of it enough to stop these kinds of terrorist attacks. If you're not willing to fight that fight, well, okay, so let's get you a teenager and see how long you last. like here's the thing. The internet is a very powerful thing. It makes us better. Overall it does. It's just that there are negative sides to it. Right? So as a parent, if especially if their friends are coming over here or whatever, and then, I'm able to have a little bit of influence, right? I'm able to see where their brains are kind of being taken and can kind of say, oh, well, what about this? Right? And give them balance. And because what happens is this, right? You get systems, right? As a parent, your job is to have a good system, right? If you have a good system, a good stable home, you've done a good job. That doesn't mean that your kids aren't going to go astray, that your kids aren't going to get involved with bad friends or do stupid things. It is kind of the nature of kids to go out and want to get involved in something else from what their family does and to do something slightly delinquent, right? Nothing too bad, but kids, they're going to be a little bit delinquent, and it's not until they're like 24 that they kind of come back and they're like, oh, parents, you were right about everything, right? But what happens is if you have a good system, then when they get influenced by bad systems, it doesn't hold, because eventually that bad system that's rotten will collapse in on itself. And I've seen that with my kids. Some situations where they were getting involved with friends or whatever that I didn't like, and are really tempted to just come in and be like, put the foot down, you're grounded, you can never talk to these people again, yada, 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 right? But I didn't do that. I just monitored what was going on. And sure enough, worked itself out, because the bad system, it collapses, right? But a part of that is that I'm able to kind of, because I can see what they're doing, I can kind of find ways to balance it and show, to highlight, okay, this is what's going to happen over here, but you're going to see it's not going to happen over here. But if you just don't know what's going on, And so that's where I kind of feel like that there's a problem. Is that, again, like, it's too easy to keep things secret from your parents. And, I really don't think it's practical to come in and say, well, you just can't get on the internet. You just can't have a phone. Because there's so much social benefits from it and everything. Like, you're really holding them back. You don't let them have a phone. Like, you're holding them back socially. You're doing something that's going to have a negative consequences for their whole life, right? So I don't think the answer is to get rid of the phone altogether. I kind of think that we just need to have systems built into the very hardware and operating system of the phone that gives parents more control. I don't know how you do that without it being a security risk, but tell you that I don't feel like that Apple and Google have put a whole lot of effort into it. So if I was president, that's what I would be talking about. That's what I would be saying. I would be saying, Apple, Google, we need to do more. I don't know if that would have really helped in this particular incident, though, because I mean, he was at school. So then this is the other thing. Is it seems like that this kid just let video games take over his life, yeah? Like, he was a 4.0 student, and then he went to a semester of school and came back? Like, what happened? My bet is that either he never really had to try hard and really develop strong study habits, or he relied too much on the parents, and once he got to school, he couldn't focus. You know, that's what I bet probably happened. I don't know how people ended up getting so powerfully sold on having to make sure their kids have phones for constant communication and protection. Yeah, I'm not in that camp at all. Yeah, I really don't think that my child being able to have the phone all the time and call somebody, especially this thing where it's like they have to have it while they're in class. I am 100% on board with any kind of a policy that basically says, if you pull out the phone during class whatsoever, it's confiscated. 100%. They don't need it. You can use it between classes. You can use it at lunch. You can use it in an emergency, but you don't have to have it. And I would even be in favor of a policy that was you can't bring phones to school, period. Because it is a very big distraction from the education. But I'm telling you, it's Pandora's box. Like once you've opened it, like I'm just like, if we're gonna say that the answer is people shouldn't have phones until they're 21, that's never gonna happen, right? But I think there's this thing, like, I don't think people realize. I don't think people realize how easily influenced they are and how easily influenced other people are. Right? Like, if you're a regular person, you can be manipulated by media. And it's really kind of a subtle thing, the way that it works. Okay? Like because the problem is you react to dopamine, right? Dopamine can be triggered by both positive and negative things. This is why people can develop strange sexual fetishes, right? Because you get the dopamine boost, even if it's like a negative thing, and then you keep following that path down because it generates the dopamine for you. Right? So this is exactly what's happening to us right now with this shooting. I'm totally obsessed with it, guys. It's just like, I mean, probably stronger for me because like I literally passed out from seeing the blood squirting out his neck. And then that's like then you're going down the online hole, you're reading more information about it, you're stuck on it, and that affects your mood, makes you susceptible to other kind of suggestion, like suggestions for further violence, you know? That's the average person. Now you go and you look at people that are more vulnerable to those sorts of things. Okay? Like if you have ADHD or autism, which is a lot of traders, let me tell you something, guys. You're more susceptible to it. You don't think that? You know, because people with ADHD and autism have really strong system twos, logic processing, tend to be more what is the word, less agreeable, so they're more likely to disagree with people and see something and say, oh no. So there is that. In some respects they're less vulnerable, but in some respects they're more vulnerable because the chemical sort of mechanisms that cause these sorts of things are stronger, because part of what causes autism and ADHD is a lack of dopamine in the brain. So when you have something that comes along and generates a lot of dopamine, you're just completely entranced, right? Let's maybe not go down the negative route. The best example of this is limerence. So limerence is when you meet a potential romantic partner and you just become completely obsessed with them, and that's all you can think of. And people with ADHD and autism are more likely to experience limerence. For some people, it's very, very pervasive and destroys their relationships, and it's a big problem. Right? So that makes people with autism and ADHD easier to manipulate on those things. So like when you go onto these online forums, you see these people that are going into some of these crazy places and going down the rabbit hole. A lot of them are autistic and ADHD. A lot of them. Which is your number one trade that I do not trade patterns. I'm not a pattern day trader. Every trade that I take is going to be based on a completely different set of conditions, because I am trying to predict the decisions that people are going to make rather than looking for some sort of pattern. And so let me go back a little bit. Octavius also asked, while we're talking about market stuff, what leg of the meta order do we think we are in? I don't know if there's going to be another leg. I think that the trend up that we had is a little bit odd, and I don't know if I can really predict if there's going to be another leg or not. I think that if there is going to be legs, that what we saw was only the first leg, but then like it was a really long leg, so that doesn't really make sense, does it? You know? Let's see here. In Switzerland, kids are not allowed to take their phones in the classroom and have to put it in a box at the entrance of the school building. This new rule just imposed for the new school year. Oh, really? Like nationwide? That's crazy. That's crazy. So what do you trade? I trade 10-year Treasury futures. I really wish that they would do that at schools. Right? Then I would only have to worry about when they're home, I guess. I don't know. I mean, part of the problem here is that it is a minority case, right? This is where something that you will see in complexity over and over and over again. You're talking about patterns. Well, like again, the high level behavior that you see in complex systems is really hard to predict. But part of the reason why it's really hard to predict is that many of these behaviors come from the outliers, right? Like if I go and I take 100 people, and you're not going to see even 1 out of 100 people is going to become a mass shooter, right? But then when you have 300 million people, then that ends up producing a lot of them, and now and all of a sudden it's a problem. So what are you supposed to do about what is the word that we call an outlier? What do you do about such an outlier? You're basically talking about this one data point that's like way out here. You know, I don't have the camera's in too close. I had to show you with it, you know, but it's like way out there on the distribution, and ends up having such a negative impact on society. What do you do about it? Because anything that you do to try and take care of that one outlier has significant negative impacts on the rest of the system. But I really do think that the family and like how we teach younger generations and how we show leadership to younger generations is kind of the mammal's safeguard against those the thing to minimize those, right? That's another thing though. I don't think that this is the kick that I've been on for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, is that I'm kind of realizing more that leadership, that probably the most significant part of leadership, especially in like a tech role, is mentoring and helping people develop along their career trajectory. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that and are intentionally doing that. Saying, okay, here's these youth. My job is to teach them, like, okay, here's how you progress through your journey as a whatever, and guide them through it. I don't think they see that. I think that they think that leadership is like, come up with the ideas and tell everybody you know them and hope that they follow you, which is not leadership. Maybe it's part of leadership, but you see how you just can't stop. Yeah. What, is Charlie Kirk irrelevant? Well, he's not. Charlie Kirk is not irrelevant. I've been ignoring somebody that's clearly trying to bait me, but it has important impacts on the society. It's going to have important impacts on the market. Not ones that you're gonna see outright, but I think that in the long run, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna be like, yeah, let's change this and this and this. So, you know, the thing that's kind of funny about Charlie Kirk is that people not understanding why he had such strong impact, right? So here's the thing. A lot of people are like, okay, now that Charlie Kirk is gone, who's going to replace him? You could be careful because he was the one holding back the flood. And now they're going to go further right wing and they're going to start following people like Nick Fuentes or whoever, who, by the way, I've literally never seen before. Okay. Well, why is that? Because that guy is not allowed on YouTube. He's not allowed on TikTok. Okay. Charlie Kirk has a really popular YouTube channel, really successful YouTube channel, where all of these other right-wing influencers couldn't help but like make childish jokes and attacks at people like Steven Crowder and got demonetized by YouTube. Charlie Kirk was always very, very careful and cordial and just on his best behavior so that he could stay on YouTube. And that's part of why he was so influential, because he was the biggest kind of social media star that was still allowed to be in the mainstream. Somebody else will replace him. There'll be somebody on YouTube. You watch. They're creating a vacuum for new creators to come up, and there'll be people that are on YouTube. This is definitely the same guy, right? we all think it's the same guy, right? Of course. I was just checking. No, what do you... Yeah. Well. Easy to deal with. And now what are you asking about Nick? I don't know. You know, it's really funny to me. Like, I know literally nothing about Nick. Never. Oh, who fills the void? I really don't think that Nick can fill the void, because it has to be somebody that is on mainstream platforms. Does he have a YouTube channel? From everything that people say about him, there's no way that he has a YouTube channel, right? Like, I don't know either. He's too extreme. Okay, yeah, I don't know. This is just like everybody says that he's super awful, though. Don't know anything about him. You know what's the one that drives me crazy though? Like is blah, 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 blah. How do I introduce this? I don't know. I always try to come onto here's the segue, the words to use. This is the thing that really is interesting. Blah blah. No. Okay, Hassan, that guy has got to go. I cannot believe that he has not been banned from Twitch already. That guy has almost single-handedly destroyed that platform, and they continue to insist on letting him stay. What the heck? And that's a guy that just on many occasions outright advocates for violence. He's like, why aren't they killing anybody over this sort of thing? He's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. And advertisers have left Twitch in mass. Streamers have left Twitch in mass. I'll tell you straight up, I will never stream on Twitch again as long as Hassan is still on that website. It is costing Amazon big money to continue to have that guy on this website. And they refuse to get rid of him. How? It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, I hope that this situation finally causes something to be done over there, because it's bad. Here's what happens when the ironic racism demo from 4chan tries to legitimize itself as a political movement. It's just kind of shocked to me how much people use Twitch anyways. They sold themselves as a gaming platform, so most of us think that it's just a gaming platform for watching boring streams. Well, I think that it still primarily is. You know, the thing that's kind of interesting is that the time period when Twitch was doing the best, when streaming was taking over and it was a big business, and they were willing to give people millions of dollars to stream on their platform and whatnot, it was still primarily a gaming platform. It wasn't until after that the e-girls started to take over. And even then, I wouldn't say that the e-girls were like a majority of the platform. They were still like a strong minority of the creators on the platform. I think to some extent, people got bored of watching other people play games. Like it was interesting for a while, and there's times when I might want to watch somebody play a game, like it's a new game and I want to understand how to play it, right? But the real audience for that is not nearly as large as it seemed like it was in 2020, right? So that was just kind of the normalization of it. And the issue is that there is way bigger things that can be done with streaming, right? It's basically like we had the LeBron James of streaming, and we never got the Oprah of streaming. The person that is coming on, live streaming every day, and is pulling in like really broad demographics of people that are interested in hearing them talk, right? Just never, it never broke out like that. You get gamers, e-girls, and then more recently the political people. But then the political people, if you're that popular as a political person, why aren't you getting hired by Fox News or whatever, right? The only people that stay in the streaming space stream every day. Well, most of them. It's because they're too extreme for the mainstream media, right? Hence Hassan. And Charlie Kirk was kind of like the one exception I can think of. Maybe there's some liberals on in that vein too, but I don't know who they are. I'm sure someday streaming will have its second renaissance, right? Like we saw the .com boom in 2020. It's only been 4 years. It'll come back. The Oprah of streaming will happen someday. I tell you what, man. They sure have been pinned at that 14, haven't they? In ZN. Right about at the top of the hour. It got up there and it's just been dead ever since. Streaming's second renaissance will be AI slop streams? Maybe. Yeah, I tell you what. Maybe the answer here is that they just have to pass a law that says that you cannot optimize your platform for engagement. You know what I mean? Like they can come in and they can say like it might be like one factor, but it can never be the primary factor that you're using to determine which content to show people. Because the AIs, if you have an algorithm like that, you know who's going to be the best at optimizing towards that and dominating the platform? It's going to be AIs, yeah. Because the AIs are just going to make slop and then see which slop sticks and they're going to get good at. Yeah, they could totally come over. If you do that, they become worthless monetarily? Maybe. I would hope not. I'd like to think that there are other metrics that you can use to optimize which content you show to people. In fact, I'd like to think that there is a way of looking at it that would be more effective than, because what I feel happens is when you optimize towards engagement, you maximize engagement in the short term, but not in the long term, right? Like people get bored of it quickly. That's how I feel with TikTok a lot. And honestly, I've felt like that with YouTube lately, the past like year or two. And just there's not as good of content on YouTube as there used to be. I think part of it was some of the best creators kind of retired, but quality has definitely gone down, hasn't it? YouTube's still the best platform, though, I tell you. Even on things like addressing extremism on their platform, I think that they're the best of the major social networks. I used to be a political content junkie, and over the years I've drifted back into not being able to pay attention unless it's useful information. Yeah. Well, but that's because, I mean, that's a sign to you that it was giving you the dopamine, right? Because the thing with the dopamine is that you can't continue to get the dopamine from the same stimulus. That's the way that we work overall, is You do the thing, you get the dopamine, and the dopamine is there to create new effective behaviors, right? You're anticipating a reward, you go and you chase after it, right? And then when you're getting the reward, then what happens is you start to develop serotonin from it, right? Doing that thing over and over and over again gives you serotonin. And that's what can persist a behavior in the long term. And as you get older, you become less driven by dopamine and more driven by serotonin. And for those of us that don't have enough dopamine in their brains, you know, even into old age, you're going to be continuing to seek that feeling, that dopamine. But most people don't. Most people eventually settle into their habits. Like, I don't think that I watch YouTube because I'm getting a rise from it. I think it's just like, now it's just a habit. Like, where else am I gonna go? I'm bored. It's not fun thinking about it that way, though. But it's you gotta, you know, I think it's one of those things that, like, would really do a lot of good for the society to understand more, because a lot of people, they get into their 30s and 40s when you start to make that transition. And because they never did anything with their lives, they're not really able to settle into that more serotonin-based way of living. So they're still chasing the dragon, per se. They're still chasing the dragon, and they're never going to find anything that satisfies it. Because that feeling was there to help you find a living, find a romantic partner, and start a family. And if you didn't use those chemicals to do that when you were younger, they're not going to be there when you're older, and you're older, you don't have the dopamine anymore. You have the serotonin. Your whole brain chemistry shifts to do something that to utilize something that you never built. This is why ultimately, like, the thing that I admire about Charlie Kirk was that he was focused on the most important thing. He understood that these things, like having a strong relationship with your church and God and having a strong family, were the things that are going to lead you to happiness the most in the long run. And I'm just telling you the same things, but explaining it neurochemically. I'm still addicted to body cam vids, though. I honestly, you know, being somebody that wasn't able to have kids until much later in my life, much later than I wanted to, I just can't imagine what it's like for people that are getting into their mid-40s, no kids. I tell you what, most of them are not happy from what I've seen. There's that certain special type of person. Usually they're a really enterprising woman. A certain kind of person that can just really stay optimistic and positive no matter what, and is able to persist into old age and be like that. But that is not most people. Most people, you get past 40, and they don't have kids, they are miserable. Probably not the worst thing in the world. But I think the issue from there is, granted, you have a partner, so that helps. The worst would be no kids, no partner, you're single. That's where it really starts to be like, but the problem is it gets worse as you get older, right? Like you and I, and you're like what, 5 years older than me? I'm 40. Anyways, like at 40 is where your limitations based on old age really start to show up, you know? Like, even if I'm being really active and I'm really using my brain, so I'm keeping that neuroplasticity, I can still see where, you know, I go in a workout, it takes longer for me to recover. Right? By 40, you're starting to see your limitations, right? By 50 and then 60, you're really starting to feel the limitations. And you will start to feel the limitations mentally too, where you're going to find my ability to pick something new up is not what it was. My ability to understand and enjoy new culture is reduced. But it's okay. Just keep having huskies. That's the same thing as a child. Anyways. Still trying to keep a close eye on the spread here, but it's still not doing anything. I was on the roof for 3 hours yesterday with a pole saw cutting big ass oak branches off the house. I think your physical limitations deteriorate. Oh, yeah, well, for sure. Sure they do. You can definitely continue to be very active. Well, actually, I think you can continue to be very active well into your 90s, actually. I've seen it. But... especially if you're doing things that require muscle, right? It's the deterioration in muscle as you age is what really kills you. So these people that are like Olympic weightlifters and whatnot, that really build a lot of muscle and strength, and they continue to do it well into their old age. They're very, like, I thoroughly expect Arnold Schwarzenegger to make it to 100 years. Well, maybe not, because he did steroids. That might hurt you a little bit there, but... We got a dude in our neighborhood who's in his 80s with a kinkled leg, and he's still outside doing his work every day. Yeah? But that's why I was saying that, like, you're going to notice your limitations, though, right? Like in me, what I notice is the recovery is just not the same. It used to be that I could go and I could work out. Do a really, really hard workout that was like really different, so that it really made all my muscles sore and everything. And then come out the next day and just, you know, yeah, I'd be sore, but I just push through it, you know? Now, no way. No. Takes forever to recover. Yeah. So something weird about my body, because again, I'm just weird in so many different ways. I don't know what to say. I'm just weird. One of the weird things is that I've got like a bunch of like, I would say, autoimmune kind of things. You know, like I have the issue with my gut where my body attacks the gut. And one of the things that kind of comes about as a consequence of that is that you're more likely to get delayed onset muscle soreness. So I have been trying to learn to throw a boomerang. I have still not figured it out. I think I understand what I was doing wrong yesterday. Because I had this one boomerang and it was like, I feel like I'm throwing it correctly, but it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And then I decided, well, it's a very light boomerang and it's foam and everything. And so that's just, you know, it doesn't cut through the wind. It's designed for kids. So I got a more real boomerang and that was better, but it still doesn't make it all the way back to me. I think that there's no wind, so I need to throw it more at a 45. Maybe we'll try it tonight. We'll see. But just throwing the boomerang and then the next day, oh my gosh, my arm, like my forearm, it makes my forearm sore because you're trying to really whip it, get that rotation on the boomerang. Last week, my forearm was really sore. I hope that I don't get like one forearm gets like huge and the other one doesn't. That'd be. I'm gonna have to find a left-armed boomerang and throw both ways. Yeah, I don't know what your technique is, but boomerangs require technique. Yeah. It kind of seems to me like something that I bet you that if I had somebody that already knew how to do it and they were teaching me, that I would have already figured it out by now, but trying to figure it out yourself with trial and error is really hard. But I was doing some more reading last night, and because I thought the problem I was having with the old boomerang was that maybe I was coming across my body too much and giving it too much tilt. But then I did some reading and I found, oh, the less wind there is, the more you want to tilt it. I do think that I'm getting enough spin on it. Okay, so the thing that I think is going to be my next problem, I think that if I get the tilt on it right, I think my issue is going to be that I throw it too hard. Like, I can get good spin on it, but I have to throw it hard to get the spin on it, too. But I think because I'm not putting enough tilt on it, it goes out way too far before it starts to turn. And then it's not able to make it back. So I'm thinking by tilting it a little more, it should start to return faster. But we'll see. Slightly more wind would help too, but it's just in the heat of the summer in Utah, there's just no wind. It's just dead. But I got to get it down before it gets cold. And we'll see if I'm able to pick up the skiing again this year. I haven't bought a ski pass yet. When you throw a non-symmetrical object, it will always rotate 45 degrees. Oh, really? But is that why you never take it more than 45 degrees? Ah. I think the thing that kind of tipped me off, though, was that, like, they were saying, oh, you know, this boomerang will go, like, 30 to 50 feet. And then, like, the boomerangs that, like, really go far out are more like 80 feet. And I was like, oh, I think that I'm throwing it, like, 80 feet every time. That's when I was like, oh, because it's not turning as soon as it's supposed to. Because there's no wind. I tell you what, guys. Well, we definitely had a good trend earlier this morning, although most of it was before we came in. Since that trend stopped, it's been dead, and this has been one of the most dead sessions I think we've seen. Given that we have retail sales and FOMC later this week, I think it totally fits. But still, awfully dead. Awfully dead today. Now the other thing that's kind of weird that's happening to me in my old age is, I don't know, like on Monday, I'm fine. But when I get to like Wednesday and Thursday workouts, I am often feel so spent. And I think that I need to get myself a good protein shake to get me through the whole day. And then I'll probably feel more like working out, you know, when I get home. But if I don't work out when I get home, I'll get like the soreness after, you know, the Monday workout. And then I'll get the soreness when that workout like comes back off or something. You know, that like the sitting all day starts to hurt. Wow. Pakistani men living in Utah charged with lighting a bomb under a Fox van during Charlie Kirk assassination coverage had an "Is he dead yet?" flag hanging outside their house. I'm thinking about if there was anything else we should really cover before we get going. Oh, yes, there is. There is something. They are trying to get Stephen Moran confirmed in the Senate before the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. So that's something going on that I think could affect the market. Also, there's the who was it? The Financial Times? I'm trying to remember which news outlet it was. But they looked into whether Cook actually did commit mortgage fraud. And the documents that they found, which granted are not the final documents, they're more early documents. But on those early documents, they found that she had not. So I don't think that that's like a final proof that she didn't commit mortgage fraud, but it's definitely is a win for them, and it could possibly just cause the whole issue to be dropped. I don't know, because I think if you go to the Supreme Court and try to fire her, and it proved that the accusation was false. I don't think that that's going to go over well, right? So these are happenings right before the meeting. I mean, I really think that it's going to be a unanimous 25 basis point cut anyways, but still something to keep an eye out for. Market will react to it if there's more headlines on those matters. Our AWS bill is getting insane. I'm going insane. How do we even start to lower it? Yeah, well, you've got to go and start using CloudTrail logs to see, and I think you're going to find that you spend a lot on requests and services that aren't meant to scale. For instance, using their API gateways. Oh, geez. So here's a post on Reddit. Somebody saying, man, it just hit me that in 30 years, a generation of people without retirement plans or savings are going to hit retirement age. What is that going to look like? 4.3 thousand comments on it and 43K upvotes on r/SIPST. So not much of a point in me commenting on that over there because the comments won't show up to anybody. But, well, it'll look like basically the way that things used to look. Because I think the thing that y'all kids don't understand, y'all kids being my generation too, is that our parents are basically like the first generation to have retirement like that. Before that, either your family took care of you or you ended up on the street. That's why Social Security was invented in the first place. A little bit of back and forth there at 14.5. Maybe they're ready to do something. It's about time for me to get going, so it would make sense that it would start moving again, right? Actually, there's been... last week, there was a couple of pretty decent-sized moves after we started streaming, wasn't there? If the iceberg at 14 half breaks, we should get another leg. Okay, well. We'll see. I think that you probably will break out of this range eventually, but I think if you do get a leg, I think it's going to be a disappointing one. Well, anyways, I should get going, guys. I will see you tomorrow for retail sales. In the meantime, stay excellent.